Hi everybody, if you're new here, my name is Suze and I'm a Divine Feminine Energy Healer and Guide. If you're coming back, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing well. I have an interesting topic today. Let's talk about enabling. This is interesting. There seems to be a common theme that I'm seeing in talking with women with the feminine collective about there seems to be a lot of disappointment towards masculine energy. There seems to be a lot of potential anger. A lot of disappointment is really the word coming through. A lot of disappointment towards masculine energy in feeling like the masculine energy is not taking responsibility for themselves, not taking responsibility to show up in relationship with the feminine in a particular kind of healthy, mature way, or not taking responsibility for their own feelings, their own emotions, and learning to grow themselves emotionally and take responsibility, and instead maybe are blaming the feminine or blaming the other person or the other situation, blaming everything around them for the current predicament that they're in emotionally, instead of taking responsibility for their own emotional state and working within themselves to work through the challenge, overcome, expand, grow, and become more emotionally mature. This is a very common theme I'm seeing of frustration. There's a good word. Frustration and disappointment and kind of losing hope, or maybe losing patience with watching the struggle of the masculine. And at the root of the struggle is what looks like a lack of taking responsibility. And responsibility is entirely a masculine energy word. You have to be in your masculine energy. And again, this is not about gender. Everyone has masculine and feminine inside of them internally. And so I am in my masculine energy when I am taking responsibility for my life, when I am taking responsibility for what I may have done in a situation with someone else that may have brought us collectively to this place that I'm not happy with. How did I contribute to this situation to then be in the predicament or the uncomfortable place or the unpreferred place that maybe this dynamic is in, or even myself, like me in my life. If I'm unhappy with something in my life, well, what part did I play? Like, it's not all my fault, right? There's always external circumstances and energies that are at play here. It's not all my fault. But what can I take? How did I contribute to whatever the thing is happening in my life that I'm not entirely happy with, right? Responsibility, that's all. That's the masculine aspect, is taking responsibility. So in unraveling all of this, and if you've been here with me for any length of time, you probably have noticed that my passion project in healing is going into the mother line, going into mother energy, going into the mother wound, because all of this stems from emotional neglect in some way, shape, or form. It's emotional neglect. And the emotional world, emotions, anything in the world of emotions, that falls under the feminine energy bucket. I'm having a hard time finding my words today. That goes in the basket of what we consider feminine energy. So this is a feminine wound, which is then therefore a mother wound. And as I've said, this is stuff that runs generations and generations and generations deep, okay? And I myself am a mother. And so I understand the massive struggles and challenges and pressures and expectations and mom guilt that is involved with being a mother and trying to take the resources that I may currently have. And a lot of the times us mothers feel like we don't have all the resources that we need to be able to guide and raise our children in the way that we wish or the way that we think would be ideal. And that's kind of the whole point, right? Is to learn how to take what you have and be grateful for what you do have, what resources are available to you in this present moment, and use them to the best of your ability to create the best possible outcome that you can possibly infuse into the current situation, right? So I understand all that. So I am not shaming or blaming mothers, but we have to understand where this is all coming from and choose to step into healing so that we're not passing this down for more and more and more generations. So along this idea of enabling, it has become revealed to me, and don't worry, I'll connect all these dots. I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit, but I will bring this all these puzzle pieces in. Just sit tight with me for a hot minute. The idea of enabling, when you're enabling someone, you are choosing to not put that person in a position of having to take responsibility, right? That is enabling. Enabling is giving to someone in such a way that prevents them from growing up or prevents them from taking responsibility. It is giving them what feels like the easy solution. Now, let's back this up. Why would you want to do that, right? Okay, well, an unhealed person is going to be more likely to enable someone else because they haven't done the work within themselves of learning to take responsibility and mature themselves. So when they see someone else that they love or care about, when they see someone else struggling, it triggers an anxiety response in them. And I've learned they don't even realize that that is an anxiety trigger that's happening. They don't even recognize it because there isn't that level of consciousness yet in that person. So there is an anxiety trigger that's happening of, oh no, this person that I care about or this person that I am emotionally attached to, I'm seeing them struggle and that's making me really uncomfortable. So I'm gonna jump in and fix this problem, make it easier for them so that they're in a peaceful state so that I can be in a peaceful state. It's actually very selfish. And of course, there's not that awareness of it in the moment, but that's what's actually happening. It's selfish of, I'm uncomfortable watching someone struggle, so I'm gonna fix the problem. And that is enabling. So it requires emotional maturity and strength to hold yourself back from jumping in and fixing or whatever needs to happen in meddling in that situation to help that person not struggle. Now, obviously, please don't take what I'm saying to an extreme, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be helping each other. Clearly, I wouldn't have started this YouTube channel if I didn't believe in supporting and helping other people. It's not what I'm talking about here. People love to misunderstand, don't they? Obviously, we are here to help and support. Obviously, humanity is all about collectively coming together and helping each other rise. That's not what I'm talking about. But the thing about enabling is what it actually is overprotection. When we as mothers are in a state of overprotecting our children, we're actually enabling them to not take responsibility for themselves. And by so doing, you're also subconsciously saying, I don't believe that my child or this person, if it's not a child, this person that I'm connected to, I don't believe that they actually have the strength or the wherewithal to pick themselves up and figure this thing out. And that's bringing me back to some videos I've done before about, what was it? I think I titled it, the one that's "You're overreacting" in quotation marks. You're overreacting, or be careful of the person who makes you feel comfortable. Those two videos are really entering into this conversation. So if you haven't seen those other videos, please do go back and check them out, because they're going to be very relevant to round out this conversation I'm having here today. When you're overprotecting someone, you're not allowing them to have a moment to fall flat on their face to then learn how to pick themselves back up. And again, I'm not saying that in a cruel way. I am saying that in a very empathetic way, in a very safe way of, you're not abandoning the person. You are emotionally holding space for them. You are empathetically witnessing their process. You are empathetically encouraging and looking for anything that they do that shows that they're trying, or anything that they're doing that's showing progress, or anything that they're doing that's showing an attempt to grow themselves and take responsibility. You are celebrating that to the max. You are inspiring them to keep going. You are feeding belief into them that they can figure this out. They can overcome it. And I'm right here holding your hand. And if you need me, I am here. But I'm not going to jump in and save you. I'm not going to jump in and fix you. I'm not going to jump in and enable you. And that does require incredible emotional maturity and strength to hold yourself back, because often we see the other person struggling with something that we have struggled with, a similar dynamic, and we knew how we fixed our own problem in that case. So it's really hard. You want to make it easier for that person. You want to be like, hey, I've been there. Do this, do this, do this, or da-da-da-da-da. But if they're not in a space of hearing you, they're not going to hear you, first of all, and you're wasting your energy and therefore devaluing the value of your own heart and wisdom and intuitive guidance. You're giving it away when it isn't valued. That's going down a whole other topic I'm not going to go down today, right? The idea of holding space is the key to radical healing for anyone. And if we are overprotecting our kids or overprotecting anyone and not allowing them to lean in to the emotional experience and learn how to work with the emotions to bring themselves out on the other side. And again, not abandoning them. They know you're right there with them, cheering them on every step of the way, but you're not meddling. You're not fixing. You're not helping, right? Helping sometimes is actually toxic, depending on how someone jumps in. Sometimes people think they're helping by jumping into the middle of the situation, but you're actually enabling and therefore not making someone take responsibility for themselves. Now, in our relationships, romantic relationships, if you're a feminine and you're in a relationship, and again, this is not about gender, If you identify as being the feminine in a physical relationship with someone and you're watching your masculine go through an emotional experience, don't jump in and fix him and save the day, even though it may seem so painfully obvious what needs to happen in this situation or how he could get himself out of this mess. Don't just instantly jump in and save the day right out of the get-go. Instead, be a space that believes in him, that inspires him to grow himself, that motivates and inspires him to keep moving forward and growing, maturing, taking responsibility for himself. And that's going to make you feel more connected to him too. Because that's how this whole conversation started today. That I'm noticing how there's a lot of anger, disappointment, resentment, and impatience around the masculine not taking responsibility. So if we're recognizing that the issue is a lack of responsibility from the masculine, then we have to take responsibility for holding ourselves back. Take responsibility for when maybe you have mothered him. You have jumped in and fixed and meddled in the situation instead of believing in him and his ability to overcome. Be very careful of the person who makes you feel comfortable. Go check that one out. And also the whole, you're overreacting video. They really tiptoe on this conversation here today. Sorry about that. Speaking of kids, my kids are upstairs and I think we just dropped something. So sorry if that was a scary noise that came through. That's my boys. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again soon.